C.D. was asked in an interview recently a question about her relationship to the language poets, and she said, "The theoretically driven San Francisco poets who were in cahoots with poets in New York and conversant with European vanguard movements, they provided me with a need to become critically aware of my back-home ways, sharpened me to a degree," end quote. In cahoots with. Now, there's a phrase one doesn't hear often enough around here. It's a Clint Eastwood line. C.D. Wright's poems draw from a region of the country and of the language that's at some distance from our own northern metropolitan lingua franca. She writes also in that lingua franca, but she's not stuck there. There's a sense of resistance in her work that one hears in phrases that have withstood the pressure of making poems, well past talking. The last rivet of grief is a phrase that is stuck in my memory from a powerful series on prisoners in Louisiana prisons, pressured people who've been left behind. So the poems are shaped, they're cut down by craft. They're sometimes full, too, of audible human musical voices, southern and strange, like some radio show. C.D. Wright's poems have real force and range, as I know you're going to hear immediately. Please join me in welcoming C.D. Wright.
I'm glad to be here. And it's nice to see the ground, even though it's really looks hard and cold, but it's still covered with snow in Rhode Island. I'm going to read from One Big South, Prisoners of Louisiana. And the book is awkward, so I'm going to read from the manuscript. But I wanted to make it available for people to at least look at, because I work with a photographer. And the photographs are printed on aluminum, and they're about this big, and treated aluminum. They're sort of akin to tintypes, and they're sort of keepsakes. They're very intimate portraits of inmates at 3 prisons in Louisiana: Angola, Transylvania, and St. Gabriel. Maximum security male prison, maximum, minimum, and medium security women's prison, and a minimum security male prison, all within fairly short distances of one another, because it's a growth industry. So I'm going to read cuts here and there from it and sort of try to establish a sense of the pattern of it. Oh, no. Oh. This is from One Big Self. Count your fingers, count your toes, count your nose holes, count your blessings, count your stars, lucky or not. Count your loose change, count the cars at the crossing, count the miles to the state line, count the ticks you pulled off the dog, count your calluses. Count your shells, count the points on the antlers, count the new jack's keys, count your cards, cut them again. Count heads, count the men's, count the women's. There are 5 main counts in the cellar work area. 4:45 first morning count. Inmate must stand for the count. The count takes as long as it takes. Control center knows how many should be in what area. No one moves from area A to area B without control knowing. If inmate is stuck out for the count, inmate receives a write-up. 3 write-ups and inmate goes to lockdown. Once in lockdown, you will relinquish your things: plastic soap dish, jar of Vaseline, comb or hair pick, paperback. Upon return to your unit, the inventory officer will return your things: soap dish, Vaseline, comb, hair pick, paperback. Upon release, you may have your possessions: soap dish, Vaseline, comb, pick, book, whereupon your true happiness can begin. In the mansion of happiness, whoever possesses cruelty must be sent back to justice. Whoever gets into idleness must come to poverty. Whoever becomes a Sabbath breaker must be taken to the pillory and there remain until he loses 2 turns. I want to go home, Patricia whispered. I won't say I like being in prison, but I have learned a lot and I like experiences. The terriblest part is being away from your families, Juanita. I miss my screen porch. I know every word to every song on Purple Rain, Willie. I'm never leaving here, Grasshopper in front of the wood shop posing beside a coffin he built. The last time you was here, I had a head full of bees. See, what I did was I accidentally killed my brother. He spoke without inflection. Asked how many brothers and sisters did he have. On my mother's side, 2 brothers, well now 1 brother, and 2 sisters. On my father's side, 15 sisters. When I handed Franklin his prints, his face broke. Damn, he said to no one, I done got old. I kept a dog. When you walk through Capricorn, keep your arms down and close to your body. That's my sign. No, she can't have no mattress. No, she can't have no spoon. See if she throwed her food yet. No, she can't have no more. My name is Patricia, but my real name is Zabonia. She spoke softly. Some have their baby and are brought back on the bus the next day and act like it doesn't bother them a bit. Some cry all the way and for days. Guard. My mama was 15 when she had me. That's common in the country. Some can learn and will be okay. Some could stay in the class forever and not learn. S, when she was a little girl, was struck in the head with a machete, and I don't think she'll learn much more. She is so sweet. You wouldn't believe she had did all the things they say she did. Don't ask. My mugshot totally turned me against getting photographed. When Grasshopper came to Big Gola, his wife was pregnant. He saw the baby once, next when he was 20. Now he's inside in Texas, 2nd time, but he's short now. He'll get out soon. I miss driving. We're both here because of love. Zabonia of herself and her best friend. I am highly hypnotizable. I would wash that man's feet and drink the water. If I were you, screw up today and it's solitary, sister woman. The padded dress with the food log to gnaw upon. This is where you enter the eye of the fart. The air is foul, the dirt is gumbo. Avoid all physical contact. Come nightfall, the bugs will carry you off. I don't have a clue, do I? If you were me, if you wanted blueberries, you could have a big bowl, 24 bushes right on your hill, and thornless raspberries at the bottom. Walk barefooted, there's no glass. If you want to kiss your kid, you can. If you want a Porsche, buy it on the installment plan. You have so many good books you can't begin to count them. Walk the dog to the bay every living day. The air is salted. Septembers, you can hear the blues jumping before seeing water through the vault and the leaves. Watch the wren nesting in the sculpture by the shed. Smoke if you feel like it, or swim, call a friend, or keep perfectly still. The mornings are free. If I were a felon, I'd be home now. Bienvenue en Louisiane. The septuagenarian murderer knits nonstop. One way to wear out the clock. In Tikva, miracles occur. This weekend, the 13th annual Cajun Joke Contest. They will not be sending the former governor to Big Gola. I pinch a cigarette and stare at Rachel's wrist scars. By their color, they are recent. That the eye not be drawn in, I suggest all courage is artificial. Her sister did not fail. Noses amuse us, and hers not less so. Short, smart, butch, utterly unsure of yourself. Whichever you see as sadder, a jukebox or a coffin, a woman's hand will close your eyes. On the surface, she is receptive. I wear the lenses of my time. Some run to type, but I am not qualified. Hectored by questions that have to do with the forms of harm, the nature of the beast, mercy, etc. Last seen yesterday morning in a one-piece swimsuit. The popular 16-year-old is 5'7", 127 pounds. The canine unit given her long white prom gloves, her pillowcase. Do you wish to save these changes? Yes, no, never mind. The stinging caterpillars of tickfaw pour onto the bark in the form of a cross. A random book skimmed from the women's shelf in which an Undine-like maiden is espied feeding white daisies to a bear. Something on anarcho-syndicalism wasn't really expected. Poetry, time, space, death. Church marquee, after Good Friday comes Easter, God always wins. Drive-in marquee, Lenten special. Po' boys, fries, drink. You can come sit, this man. The men pretty much all have ripped chest. Knitting wasn't really expected. Sign on the weight machine, push to failure. Whoever becomes a drunkard must be taken to the whipping post. Dino's out, he'd like his pictures. Dino blowing smoke out the holes of his beautiful nose. She is so sweet. You wouldn't believe she had did all the things they say she did. That one, she's got a gaggle of tricks up her you-know-what. Drawn on a wall in solitary by a young one, Mom, love, God, before he had a face on him. The missing girl's father is a probation officer. Do you want to download this? Now, later, no comment. Solitary confinement, Mr. Abbott wrote, can alter the ontological makeup of a stone. Mr. Abbott was state-raised, he knows. 0% financing and drive-through daiquiris. Baggies of hair and nail clippings entered in. You can bet your nickels the former 4-term governor will be well lawyered. What is your problem? The tear walker checks on the precariously living. Photographed him with a boner. That's not my pencil, is it? It is a stock dog, the state dog, Catahoula with the rain blue eyes. Church marquee, let's meet at my house before the game. Lead kindly, light. Enter softly, evil. My dear conflicted reader, if you will grant me that most of us have an equivocal nature, and that when we waken we have not made up our minds which direction we're headed, so that you might see a man driving to work in a perfume and dye-free shirt, and a woman with an overdone tan hold up an orange flag in one hand, a Virginia Slim in the other, as if this were their predestination. Grant me that both of them were likely contemplating a different scheme of things. Where do you want to spend eternity? The church marquee demands on the way to my boy's school. Smoking or non-smoking? I admit I had not thought of where or which direction in exactly those terms. The radio ministry says GOD has a wrong answer button, and we are all waiting for it to go off. Count your gray hairs, count your chigger bites, count your pills, count the times the phone rings, count your T cells, count your mosquito bites. Count the days since your last menses, count the chickens you've eaten, count your cankers, count the storm candles, count your stitches, count your broken bones, count the flies you killed before noon. In the old days, they would have sent you to America. The one called Grasshopper raises wild things, sparrows, hares, you name it. They've got a mule skinner here that can make one sit down and talk. Then there's the wren nesting in the razor wire. I read that the former governor is employing Mr. Von Bulow's attorney. Sissy is Mr. Redwine's Catahoula. Nolan knows where the dove eggs are. Pop named every single one of his roses his company keepers. I haven't found anyone good enough for my cats, said Lyles. He bottle-fed the colt Little Tet and rehabilitated Ginger, whose back end is sunken still. That dog, the guard said, is emancipated. That man, Nolan said, of Ginger's former keeper, didn't need no dog. Smurf is photographed with Daisy. She's just a pup, but she's Ophelia Brasilia, as draft horse to regular horse, the very core of horseness. Tiger Lady, Storm, Kilo, Thunder, Josie, Duke, Bonnie, Blaze, Dolly, Grubby, Jack, Buster, and Tracker. Put your hands together for the canine unit. If they can get outside the fence, they still have to beat the dogs. No one's beat the dogs yet, said Castleberry. Whoever possesses audacity must be taken to the water and thoroughly ducked. Swallows multiply in the Red Hat building. The greenhouse dog is fancy. In the Red Hat building, old Sparky gathers webs. No condoms for the heart. Violence, H. Rap Brown proclaimed, is American as apple pie. Over 6 trillion served, over 2 million behind bars. Mr. Redwine is the coffin builder, Grasshopper his apprentice. Built a replica of old Sparky for the prison museum. International Harvester provided the generator for the original, drove it around on a flatbed from penitentiary to penitentiary. About the thickness of a pair of panties, Your Honor, she was a slab of a woman. Her husband, he was a wonderful, wonderful man. That one, he should have never been born. Some run to type. Saturday night, going to Walmart, satisfaction guaranteed. Over 6 trillion served, 2 million put away. It gets old, the way we do things. And Nolan is the Buddha, maybe, maybe not. His mansuetude manifest. No one here for walking on the grass. Described herself as a shy Bible-reading woman. That one, don't make me laugh. I'll tell you what she knows now. She knows le ciel est par-dessus le toit. She knows nothing, and no one is bad forever. He would finish his pie later, he said, in all sincerity, over his last meal. Po' boy, fries, drink. He did not say, let's do it. He said, Dominicus vobiscum. Lingers the implication that Gilmore's father was the bastard son of Houdini. There will come a time that he will move. He will have to move, and it is his movement that will be his undoing, said Castleberry. My ode to the double negative. Hell yes, it's bitter. Every bit of it bitter. Et cum spirito tuo. The men like the young and the restless. Some of us be rootin' for the bad guys. Some of us be rootin' for the good. George. And some of us just be rootin' from the turn row. The women like the guiding light. The women like Nora Roberts and John le Carré. The men like Danielle Steele and Louis L'Amour. Everybody likes Jackie Collins. The men's units are named for animals and trees. They keep the young ones in eagle until they get a face on them. The women's units are named for signs of the zodiac. Capricorn is lockdown. That's my sign. She misses her clematis. He misses his dogs. What they hold in common, their poverty. More than cold, I dislike heat. If the governor would release me to Alaska, I would promise never again to come anywhere near this state for any reason whatsoever. Favorite body of water, Arctic Ocean. My idea of a good car, anything that is fast, solid, and bulletproofed. I can identify Queen Cassiopeia, can't spell her name, Orion's Belt, the Dipper's 7 sisters. I detest okra, Willie. My dear affluent reader, welcome to the Pecan Land Mall. Sadly, the pecan grove had to be dozed to build it. Home Depot raised another grove. There is just the one grove left, and the creeper and the ivy blunted its sun. The uglification of your landscape is all but concluded. We are driving around the shorn suburb of your intelligence, the photographer and her factotum. Later, we'll walk in the shadows of South Grand. They say in the heyday of natural gas, there were houses with hinges of gold. They say so. We are gaining on the cancerous alley of our death, which when all is said or unsaid, done or left undone, shriven or unforgiven, this business of dying is our most commonly held goal. Ready or not, 0 exceptions. Don't ask. Prepare to exit the forest of men and women. Louisiana bumper sticker, Jesus, don't leave earth without us. It's a great day to die, a great day to leave the body, he told the press before his Easter execution. When I go, I want my lips Smith sewn. None of that perfect bound crap. It doesn't last. And burn me up. I don't want any more real estate. No one promised you the light or the morrow. Mother Helen predicts you will doing better money-wise between March and May. In your past life, you had something to do with animals. She sees you in a hospital with animals way back in the 1800s. After all, you are not Gramsci, she said. Qui facet per alium facet per se. Sounds dirty, doesn't it? I wanted to offer you the bread of charity, mercy, etc. When she said she would write the book, he said, "What direction? Take this down, then burn it. My faulty eschatology. Pardon my French." Wonderful news. Sissy had 7 little catahoulas. Mr. Redwine in ecstasy. Dear dying town, the food is cheap, the squirrels are black, the box factories have all moved offshore, the light reproaches us, and our coffee is watered down, but we have an offer from the feds to make nerve gas. The tribe is lobbying hard for another casino. The bids are out to attract a nuclear dump, and there's talk of a supermax. He was pronounced dead at 8:06 p.m. She was pronounced dead at 8:16 p.m. one solitary day after their 14th wedding anniversary. Be just, inscription made by the harrow. Pour all the blood back into the earth. A woman's hand will close your eyes. Transfiguration kicks in. The women like the guiding light. Him 3 jolts in 2 minutes and 45 seconds, her 5 jolts, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. No one's beat the dogs yet, said Castleberry. The warden took a butterfinger from one of the escapees, ate half of it in front of him, fed the rest to the pack leader. Sebastian Melmoth, Wilde's pseudonym upon release, but he was pretty much finished with literature by then, who felt chosen to teach the meaning of sorrow and its beauty, that his literature was pretty much finished with Wilde. AC or DC, you want to be Westinghouse or Edison, you pick, you're the one condemned. Tennessee's retired chair available on eBay. Caravaggio, his deposition of Christ, 1604, a revolutionary use of light. Murdered his tennis partner, for whatever it's worth. My friend here no longer sleeps in her own bed, in her own house, by her own self. The Heisenberg principle applies. You change what you observe. Everything is personal. Did you ever do anything illegal? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on your definition of legal. Who are you going to believe, me or my lying eyes? The goal is to transcend the course taken by blood, color-coded authority, paternal cruelty. Dear unbidden, unbred, this is a flock of sorrows, of unoriginal sins, a litany of obscenities. This is a festering of hateful questions. Your only mirror is one of stainless steel. The image it affords will not tell whether you are young still or even real. In a claustral space, hours of lead, air of lead, the sound metallic and amped. You will know the force of this confinement as none other. You have been sentenced for worthlessness. In other eyes, crucifixion is barely good enough. The strapped-down team is on its way. The stricken whose doves you harmed will get a mean measure of peace. The schadenfreuds, the sons of schadenfreuds, will witness your end with howls of execration, followed by the burning of your worthless body on a pile of old tires. None will claim your remains nor your worthless effects. Soap dish, Vaseline comb, paperback. All you possess is your soul, whose mold you already deformed. You brought this on yourself, you and no one else, you with the dirty blonde hair, backcountry scars, and the lazy dog eye. You shot the law, and the law won. You become a reject of hell. Prison towns, prison motels, prison movies, prison books, prison dreams, voices in the air conditioning, convict hate, convict sweat, convict voices in the toilet tank, this cell, your dwelling, this grave, your garden. Today it is hot as blue blazes, and tonight it is going to be very, very warm. Tomorrow it's going to be hot as blue blazes, and tomorrow night very, very warm. Why has the field line started so late? Why does the light reproach us? Why is the coffee so watered down? What does it say on your blue sheet? What will you lose if you stay? What is your baby's name? Mac trapped a spider kept in a pepper jar. He named her Iris. Caught roaches to feed her. He loved Iris. When Iris died, he wrote her a letter. His last word, wow. That's all he said, the warden told the camera. Mitterrand last dined on ortolan in the tradition of French kings. Some have crawfish with the warden, some dine on oxygen. In some prisons, the last cigarette is no longer permitted. 0 exceptions, don't ask. An eye for an eye, it says in Exodus. Whose eye? An eye. Audible light, an assault. Foot for foot, burn for burn, it says here. Be just, the inscription made by the harrow on the back fat and bone. Count your notches, count your condoms before you go out Saturday night, satisfaction guaranteed. Count your folding money, count the times you said you wouldn't go back, count your debts, count the roaches when the light comes on. Count your kids after the house fire, count your cousins on your mother's side, count your worrisome moles, count your dead. Dostoevsky's epilepsy worsened after the mock execution. I saw children in the dirt yard, children in the sprinkler buckets of children jumping through snatches of smoke. I saw a quivering dog in front of a quivering body of water, his back end sunken still. I saw a cloud of love bugs collect over the boxwood, which smells like cat piss, and the trillium that smells like skanky underwear. Dostoevsky's father, so frigging nasty, brutish, and short, murdered by his serfs. And something Chorin penned, I can't get out of my head. No one can keep his griefs in their prime. They use themselves up. And another thing, nothing and no one is bad forever. Willie. Wherever you find knots of men, you will find the charisma of violence. American as pie. Poetry, time, space, death. Dear child of God, if you will allow me time to make a dove, I will spend it well. A half success is more than can be hoped for, and turning on the hope machine is dangerous to contemplate. First, I have to find a solid bottom, where the scum gets hard and the scut work starts. One requires ideal tools, a huge suitcase of love, a set of de-iced wings, the ghost of a flea, music, intermittent or ongoing. Here, one exits the forest of men and women. Here, one redreams the big blown dream of socialism, deep in the suck-hole where Luvindi kept her hammer, under her pillow, like a wedge of wedding cake, working from my best memory of a bird I first saw nesting in the razor wire. Lines of defense, including proceedings from the state of Louisiana versus the convergence of the irreal and the unreal. Where were you on the night in question? Watching reruns. What did you do before? Fatten frogs for snakes. Before that, sold monkeys door to door. Did you ever imagine yourself doing something really useful? Not applicable. What's your DOC number? What's your idea of love, loss, mercy, etc.? Not applicable. What can you tell us about your passenger? She was a slab of a woman, Your Honor. Which is sadder, a motel or a public john? When did your troubles with the Revenue Service begin? On Kafka's birthday, Your Honor. How many prisons have we passed? Just 4. Was that a Harley or a coffin you were driving? What do you call a flesh wound? About the thickness of a pair of panties, Your Honor. Westinghouse or Edison, your choice, AC or DC. It's no real pleasure in life. Did you have any pets? I kept a dog. How did you get rid of the stains? I know hot water sets blood. How do you get rid of dirty chi? Ask Jeeves. Count her bruises and contusions, count the baby's teeth, count your bills, count the birds you bagged, count the pup sissy head, count the shots fired, count the puncture wounds, count your cavities, count the years. After the house fire, count your children, count them again, count the reasons why you came into being in the first place. Count your nickels, count the days you've got left before your next check. Count the staples in the back of your head, count the wrong turns you took to get here. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is this your verdict? What say you, one and all? Count the nights you lay awake waiting, count the nights you lay awake wondering, count the ways you rewrote the ending. Landing on prison or ruin, send the player's piece back to begin life over again from space number 1. Enters a silence that never reverses itself. What was he reading? Inmate preferred not to speak to the press. Inmate preferred not to eat with the warden. Inmate preferred to see his own pastor. Inmate asked that his mother not be present. Inmate asked that his eyes be given to another. Today it's going to be hot as blue blazes, and tonight it will be very, very warm. Tomorrow it's going to be hot as blue blazes, and tomorrow night it will be very, very warm. Tuesday's just as bad. We must rest now. It's going to be a scorcher. Before you know it, the sun is coming up and everything is moving clockwise. Is your blood headed in the right direction? Thank you.